Welcome into another episode of the Film Room. I'm really excited to be joined today by Vanessa de Jesus from over at now University of Notre Dame, formerly over at Duke, and also you've been all over the place this summer. I think is a great way to put it. So, how are you kind of settling in, knowing, shoot, last year's school is coming up in a couple weeks here? How's everything on your end?
Yeah, like you said, I've been literally world traveling, and obviously moving into, South Bend, but it's been really fun, exciting and being my last year, of college basketball. So kind of just taking it all in, enjoying all of it now and not, thinking too far ahead, but super excited for the season to start.
No, absolutely. I want to ask you first because I think it went a little bit under the radar, but you got to participate in something pretty cool this last week, being at Jeremy Lin's. I think it's his first iteration, the Next Gen Camp. Invite only, small group. What was that like? First off, like knowing that that was something you could do, and then just being part of it and getting to be around, obviously, Jeremy and a really great group of players.
Yeah, when I first initially saw him, because he messaged us like through Instagram, I'm like, oh
Oh,
my God.
that's wild.
I was like, oh my gosh, Jeremy Lin, because like literally the first thing I thought about was watching him on the Knicks and
Oh, of course.
him
How can you
making,
not, right?
Lin Sanity, those buzzer beater against Toronto, like those are initially like he was someone I definitely looked up to, especially in Asian American community. So for me, it was surreal, like an opportunity I literally couldn't say no to, just to learn from him. And I think what he's doing for the Asian American community, trying to bring, all the elite like collegiate players is something that you don't see happening. So being part of like the first generation of doing that was super fun. But yeah, great experience. Got to compete with some of the other girls and even some guys who, are playing in the college level. And then it was more than just basketball, which is a cool thing. I think he kind of expanded it to learning like about things off the court. So the mental game of basketball, performance, physical therapy stuff, and even like in the weight room, and then also just hearing about Jeremy and his experience playing pro and playing on that level and what it takes. So honestly, just an amazing experience, and he's a great guy, great person off the court, and he knows a lot about the game on the court. So it was super fun. I just like really enjoyed it.
No, I love to hear that. What was maybe biggest takeaway you had from on-court work? Just kind of getting to see his process, how he does things.
hmm Yeah, it's all about the details. At the next level, everybody's talented, everybody's strong, but it's about the advantages you can get. And some things he talked about were like angles, offensively, defensively, being a guard, maybe even undersized, as me example, and him too. It's about being smarter and kind of reading the defense and using that to your advantage. And I kind of could relate because I feel like for me, might not be like the tallest one out there, but I think my understanding of the game and kind of using that to my advantage is something that I strive to do. So learning about that from his perspective, him playing against some of the best in the world, was something that I kind of took from there. And then just kind of just going and figure out your identity as a player and using your advantages, and always staying as yourself and not letting, the ups and downs of the games kind of affect that, but doing what you do well and sticking with that.
No, I really appreciate that. I think that speaks a lot to, like you said, the next level is so much about like how do you kind of find that constant? How do you build on that? Like that's the most difficult part to me. Like you said, I think is it's not. I mean, obviously you got to be talented in what you bring on the court and develop that, but
Mhm.
you're not going to get playing time if a coach can't look at you and say, I know what I'm getting every single time you touch the court. It's really difficult to find playing time. It's already. I mean, I think it's even more like that in college now too, with the way the NILs continue to play out. Um, but speaking on that, I think part of what was really fun for me this summer and why I reached out to Ashton about doing this, like watching you with the Philippines at Asia Cup. Like I've always known you're a talented player. Obviously, I mean anybody who watched you play in high school, I think is well aware of that. You obviously did really great things at Duke, but I think seeing you in the Asia Cup, you got to play in just a different system for the first time in a while, um, and get to kind of remind people like, hey, look at I can do this when I have the ball in my hands more, or when I'm running like at least you correct me if you feel otherwise. Obviously, Duke runs incredible stuff, but it's much more set play. It's a lot more slower pace, more just driven towards efficiency in the half court. Whereas with you guys in the Philippines, we were talking about this before we hopped on. Very guard heavy group right now. A lot of
Yeah.
excitement in that. I really love Samaya and Naomi. They have a lot of potential. So it's been fun watching them. But like, you guys got to play fast. You got to get shots up. So what was that like for you, kind of having that experience of getting to step in and be somebody who's really got the ball in their hands to make decisions like that?
hmm Yeah, no, I think this system is honestly like one of my favorites because, like you said, having the ball in hand more, I think that's something that I strive in is my decision making and being able to make decisions either off the pick and roll or off the handoff. And like we talked about, Jack having another post player who I can
Hmm.
just read off of and then just having shooters around. I love playing like that, just be able to read the defense and kind of, my coach from high school used to say, basketball's a game of chess and not checkers. And I think in that kind of system allows me to make those reads and kind of show my understanding and my IQ of the game. So I feel like that's something that I strive towards, and that system makes it easier to kind of play off that like read and react kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, super fun like system to play, and definitely different. When you have literally all like 5 foot, under 5'10" players on the court, you have to do what you can to get the basket. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of what will be fun too. I love that you just brought up the chess aspect because a lot of the clips we're going to go through are from the New Zealand game. Because I don't know if what your feeling was coming out of that game, but like rewatching it a couple times, like they literally threw every different kind of coverage at you throughout that game, and I think you really get to see how you react and how you adapt to stuff throughout the game, which was really exciting. Before we get into that, though, in terms of looking at coming to Notre Dame and having your final season here, um, what played a part in that? Like, what made you feel ready to leave Duke and to find a new opportunity, and what made Notre Dame the place for you?
Yeah, Duke has honestly been great for like the past 5 years. I love the people, like the school is
Which,
great.
not to cut you off, but like, I think that's the crazy part. Like, you say 5 years, and it's like, right?
I
Like,
know.
you
No,
don't think
literally,
about it until you say it, and you're like, that really. I
exactly.
was there for pre-COVID. Like,
Yeah.
it's nuts to think about.
Literally been there forever, like, never thought I'd leave, like, I love everything about it, like, from the people to, like, the school itself, but like you said, it'd be my last year, and obviously, like, my goals of playing pro and, giving myself a chance even maybe to make the W, I had to find an opportunity that was aligned with that, and I just think having a change and having a bigger role and kinda showcasing more of my game, in the Philippines, like, that kind of experience, just having that was something that really, piqued my interest of, okay, maybe I didn't want any regrets, and the urgency of it being the last year was something that I felt like I had to do. And then, yeah, why Notre Dame? Obviously, why not? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, they're one of the best programs in the world, and even just academic level, something that's important to me is find a school that's excellence, like in the classroom and on the court. And obviously, Notre Dame is that, and then the guard use aspect of it. They develop pro guards. The coaching staff, very well group of people, and I'm like really excited to learn from. And yeah, just again, the guard you part was a big one of it. So yeah, I'd say just the basketball and obviously the school itself was like an opportunity I couldn't like say no to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hitting on that right on the head. Like a lot of opportunity to play an early offense with this team, a lot of opportunity to play more 4, sometimes 5 out, and just like really um, attack new angles and new ways of playing the game, right? And um, but what has that been like in kind of learning, particularly, I mean, especially in the half court? This team likes to play a lot of Princeton, play a lot more through the posts, and then opening things up through that. So what has that been like kind of learning and just getting your handle on how this team wants to play?
Yeah, it's been fun. I love basketball, like learning about basketball and like learning different kinds of plays. For me, it's a exciting experience, especially playing with other great guards like Hannah, Cass, KK, and even Ayana coming in and Kelly. We have, a whole new group, so I'm super excited, like kind of figuring out like how the pieces fit. But yeah, it's been fun just figuring it out. The coaches have so much knowledge. I'm just trying to soak in and learn from. And I think this summer has been really good to kind of see that chemistry on the court and how it's going to look for the year. So for me, it's just been fun kind of learning that and just getting better at that every day.
No, absolutely. And then lastly, before we get into the clips, obviously, I know you've talked about wanting to be a pro on this, but also just in general, I haven't seen you speak on it. Um, in terms of things that you really want to develop and improve this year and showcase, what are the things that top of mind right now when you're thinking of okay, our first game in October, this is what I want to be able to come out and show that I'm going to bring every single night on the court.
Mhm. I think one is my shooting. As something I'm trying to, showcase more, especially in this system. I feel like, they need people to come in and help offensively, get buckets and stuff. And I think I'm a great shooter. I remember even last year at Duke, I won like the best shooting like in the summer. So like one of the top shooters, and I have confidence in that. I say it's something that I don't get to showcase much, but I can score at all three levels in my 3-point game. So that's something that I continue to get consistent in, and I think that will help, especially in the next level. And then also my mid range game. That's another thing that I think people probably don't know much about me. But if you watch me in high school, that Iverson cut to like the sweet baseline for the little pull up, like that was like my bread and butter. So that's another thing to continue working on. And yeah, just my decision making, being a point guard, reading the game, my vision, just understanding the time I take into like watching film and all that. I think that's another thing that people will see this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love you mentioning your mid-range game because for reference, I'm not sure you were aware of how hot you were from mid-range in Asia Cup. You shot 47% on off the dribble twos, and that was like half your shot diet, I think.
Wow.
So it's pretty good. Like it's a very elite number to be at, and you obviously shot the ball really well from three. So a lot of stuff to kind of keep diving into with that. Um, and then on top of that as well, just in terms of like, I think part of what's interesting is I think the pro level is so uncertain might be the wrong way to put it, but like there's just a lot of unknown about the W and where it's at and where it's headed. Speaking with expansion, I mean, like obviously the league's in a great place, but just the way that that's going, what has kind of been your feeling of that from the outside? I'm curious to ask people that because like I'm somebody who's in it every day thinking about it. It's different when you're playing and that's not what you're thinking about, right? So like, what has kind of been your interpretation of that from the outside and kind of taking things in and how did that play a part in your decision making process?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's great how, more teams 'cause I've been watching, following W forever, and there's just so many great players you hear about that just can't get on the team just because there are not enough spots or just, there's just so many elite talent just in the W itself. So kind of hearing how it's growing and even, next year and then the following years, like with the, Detroit team and all the other teams to come, I think it's a really good space where the WNBA is heading and just women's basketball in general. I think it's exciting. I'm seeing the interest grow like worldwide, which I feel like it's just the best time to be in it. So I'm happy I'm like kind of like at the point where it's growing and it's about to, I think, like take off even more. But I think just for the game itself, just seeing that growth and just the interest from people around the world is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of what's really interesting, like you're mentioning, I think so much of it is we might not see it pay off right away, but the next 2 to 3 years, like I think, particularly for players, if you are focused on getting to that point, it's about the work you're putting in right now and, maybe going over and playing a season in like Slovenia or wherever you need to be, like that gives you the best opportunity to keep growing, keep showcasing your skills and to find a way. Cause I mean, I think you see like front offices are getting more investment in overseas scouting and um, fingers crossed. I think we might get some roster expansion in the CBA. At least that's my hope. So yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. There's a lot of great stuff to go ahead with it. But let's get the film pulled up now because we have a lot of really great stuff to dive into looking at your game. I want to start primarily with your offense. We'll close out with looking at a couple things defensively as well. Um, but going into this game against New Zealand, and also just like in a cup setting like this, I think you guys played what 5 games in 6 or 7 days.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty tight. So like when you're thinking of like turnaround and preparing for a scout and playing varied, because honestly, I think Asia Cup has some of the most variance out of teams in any of the international scene right now. What was that like handling that and going from that day to day and kind of having to figure out game by game what that looks like?
Yeah, like you said, the turnaround was really quick. So for me, it was like obviously get my scalp before the game, but once that game ended, it was like turn the page to the next one. And then recovery wise, just staying off my feet, just because we play a lot of minutes, and a lot of these teams are very up and down. So just the
Mhm.
pace of that and making sure I have legs for the next day was huge. So just like stretching, getting treatment if needed, just using my recovery boots. So that was a big thing. And then yeah, like film wise, I kind of would focus on the team that I needed to, like one game at a time. Obviously, just because you never know what could happen later on. But kind of prioritize like the main things, like maybe a couple players I would have to guard or who guarded me, and then kind of just tendencies of like those players and then the team itself. Since you really only had a day to prep,
Yeah.
but yeah, every team, like you said, has a different style of play, so that kind of helped of kind of knowing like okay, this team plays like this, team plays like that. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, starting off, we're going to look at obviously, I mean, I think a lot of this is going to be looking at pick and roll and kind of how you're handling ball screen coverages. So, as soon as you're coming down like this early offense, what are you looking at? What are you seeing? What are you
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah, so right now I know the two guards are gonna go in the corner. So kind of right now I'm reading the weak side of like, okay, is she pulled in? Are they staying tight to the shooters on the side that I'm gonna drive to? And then also knowing that I have number 0 on the strong side with me, so I know she's a shooter and they know that she can shoot. So most likely they'll probably be inched out. And so kind of reading that the player if they're gonna tag the post or stay out. And then for me, like looking at the basket and obviously first option if they don't stop me, then going all the way. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm. So yeah, here I'm like, "Oh, they went under," and then
Yep.
I'll
Which
okay.
exactly. And I think one of the things that you mentioned in terms of being a great shooter that I think stands out, and I'm interested to see what you think on this, but like such a big aspect of shooting is time. Like I think of it honestly to me, shooting is an extension of decision making. Like right here, the fact, okay, as soon as you get that under, you're getting ready to pull. Like
Yeah.
I think you so often see a player where they get an under and they maybe are like, oh, what do I have time to pull? Do I do this? What do I do? And like
Mhm.
so being able to take advantage of that right away matters a
Yeah,
ton.
100%. Because like once you shoot that a couple times, then you got the post player kind of on their heels, like, oh man, do I contest or not? So it kind of keeps the defense often, I mean, honest. And yeah, letting them know you can shoot that, gives you more options, I think.
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
seeing some pressure right away. When
Mhm.
you are getting that, so like when you're starting to, especially a team starts giving you 94 feet, how is that kind of changing things up for you?
Yeah, I think when people are, pressuring that, you gotta combat that with you can't like be shy away from it, but you gotta come at it. So for
Yeah,
me, it's that against them, because they're playing hard and just using that fakes, but just staying controlled. I think that's one thing about me. I'm always composed. I trust my handle. I trust in the work I put in. So even they try to speed me up, I still try to stay at my own pace and not let that get to me.
absolutely. Yeah, no, and I think you do a really great job, like you mentioned. I think the worst thing you can do most of the time if you're coming up the court is to pause and
Mhm,
give them any time to get into your handle or make you uncomfortable.
mhm.
Um, so especially coming right baseline here, were you thinking in your head, all right, I want to try and force her into the screen, or what were you thinking as you're coming down?
Yeah, I think for me, it was just getting to her under the level of the screen, so kind of pushing it, seeing if she would stop. Because if she stopped, I would just keep going. But obviously, there's a strong side shooter over there,
Yeah,
so just kind of getting her lower enough so Jack could send me a good screen that wasn't too high up.
and it works great.
Yeah.
Get downhill, good stuff. No, because I like that right away, like you said, because I think again, it's stuff you don't think about necessarily. I mean, I'm sure you think about, but like just watching a game, I mean, like
Hmm.
this is unscripted stuff. That's just going out and playing basketball, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's something you're going to have a lot of free will to do with this team this
Hmm.
coming year. Um, so getting to here too, especially with having players slip. What do
Yeah.
you like about playing with somebody who can slip, and what that can do to a defense?
Yeah, I think keeps them on their toes because I know even defensively, you rely on the post player to be there to help you get over the screen.
Hmm.
But for me with the slip, it kind of can confuse my defender a little bit. Like, oh shoot, like are they supposed to help or not? And it allows you to just kind of make a read, see if they're playing two. Like I'm right now watching the person Jack was guarding, seeing if
Hmm.
she stayed with me, and she kind of stayed with me, but then the help side of the tag was there, and then I just saw on the strong side they were watching me drive, so she was open in that
Absolutely.
on that pass.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I love what you're mentioning too, because essentially, I mean, you get three pairs of eyes on you,
Yeah.
being able to do that, make a read. I mean, I know the shot doesn't end up going, but I don't care. Like that's just a good look. That's stuff you want to create.
Mhm.
Um, so right here too, this is something that we're seeing a lot more of, and I love that you
Mhm.
guys ran this. Like using, I don't want to. Every team calls it something different, but I just call it like basically a butt screen. Like you said it with
Yeah.
your back to it. What? How do you feel about this kind of screening, and what it kind of opens up for you?
Yeah, definitely it was different than, like, America.
Yeah.
I feel like I never saw it until I started
It's very European international basketball, but we're
Yeah.
starting to
I
see
was
it more
like
here.
yeah, I was like, "Oh, it's interesting," but again, like, it's hard for the defense to, like, be ready for the screen, so I kinda like it because as a post player that's guarding my teammate, they can't really, hedge it or if they wanted to ice it or trap it, like, there's no time to really, make a decision, so for me, it allows me to get that advantage on the defense, so I like that screen.
Yeah, no, I like what you said because especially like having a shooter with you too, like it's really
Mhm,
difficult to go under that. It's really difficult to do other things with it. So it varies things, gives you options, right? Um,
mhm,
coming downhill like this, obviously get to your mid range game.
mhm,
What especially when you're getting to the hill downhill and you have a player who is on your hip, what are the things you're kind of looking for or trying to think through
mhm.
in terms of creating the best look possible?
Yeah, I think ideally, getting to their body early,
Hmm.
if I have to step on them, keeping that step and then using that to my advantage of maybe like a pound dribble. So I
Hmm.
know their momentum is they're trying to get back in front of me. So using that against them, pound dribble, just stop on them on the pull up. I should have made that shot. Um, but yeah, just using my body, pounding the dribble and kind of just creating a little opening. So I know I can get it off if I just have a little bit of space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like what you said about getting into their body because especially in this, like this, I think some might look at this and be like, "Oh, that's an open pass. That's a really difficult pass to make."
Mhm.
So I like what you said about creating an advantage with using your body. Obviously, you're somebody who's great pulling up, but if you can get into somebody, it helps give you momentum into making those shots, right? So
Mhm.
that's big to notice.
Mhm.
Um, Getting into this as well. So starting to see again another screen like that. What are you
Yeah.
kind of feeling here? Because they're trying to still like I think this is the first time in the game they really try and ice you pretty hard.
Yeah, they were icing me, so I was trying to tell Jack if she could flip that screen because ideally with the ice, I love to like snake it as an option that I like to do,
Hmm.
just so they won't be able to screen it, or just a quick pass to Jack. But again, the spacing was kind of tight, and also having that strong side corner. But yeah, if I would have just told her to go through, and then I could have snaked it with Jack. But here, I saw the defense was really collapsing anytime I drove, so
Hmm.
I was trying to give a little bit, and then you see the eyes on me, and then kind of just kicking it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, create an open shot with it. That's the good stuff. And you mentioned, it's pounding it like you like on the last possession. You get into that here, and I think that's really key
Mhm.
because again, keeping bodies on you for as long as possible is so much
Mhm.
about opening something up, right?
Yeah.
So right here, I think this is the first time you get blitzed in the game. They came
Mhm.
out doing it in the second half. So as
Yeah.
soon as you're coming in like this, what are you kind of thinking and feeling out?
Mhm. Well, I'm seeing Jack's defender, I'm like, "Okay, she's, like, peeking a little bit." I'm like, "Okay," and then they're forcing me into the screen, which is I was like, "Okay, maybe they're about to," like you said, "trap me," and I was like I was killing them on the last half, so I was kinda prepared for that, but kinda just keeping my dribble and then seeing how Jack's defender plays me, and then obviously the weak side, they're on the line. But
Hmm.
yeah, just dragging it out, and then having someone come to the middle pass. I was told Jack after this play to get into my little view because that pass is a hard pass to make if she just leaves me out of there. I don't think because that pass is kind of far away. So kind of dragging the defense out and then looking for the short roll would be the
Yeah.
ideal pass there, or the quick pass across if 24 would have lifted higher. Because
Yeah, no, so exactly. I'm glad you brought this up because I
yeah.
think a lot of people look at this and be like, oh, it's almost a turnover. And I think to
Mhm.
me, I watch this and I'm like, this is a group that's played together for less than a month. Like,
Yeah.
it's really difficult when, like, as good as Jack is at getting into space, like you exactly like you said, as soon as she rolls out, there's
Mhm.
no pass there, right?
Mhm.
And there's a body right there too. So there's no outlet. I think you do a good job of keeping the ball alive as much as possible, but
Mhm.
if you could go back and do this, would you even
Yeah.
like consider like, all right, just pull Jack away, get her like off her and just try and go
Yeah.
reset? Or like how would you kind of look at that?
Yeah, I guess I would either if I see them coming, quick pass across to 24, and then maybe Jack would have been open on the roll, or just tell Jack, like, "Go, like, roll, Jack, roll, roll, roll," and then seeing what her defender does. If they do trap me, she should be right there on that quick roll, or if not, that girl's on my side, so I should be able to drive down the middle, um, too.
No,
Mhm,
absolutely.
mhm.
That's good insight. It's because it's tough too, especially like a new half and excuse me.
Yeah.
And this team was like, I mean, New Zealand was super long, like every position.
Mhm,
So they just again kept mixing stuff up. I wanted to go to this one though too because I think it shows another opportunity where you see more two on the ball and make a really good play out of this. So again, you're getting, like we talked about earlier, getting that pressure, but doing a
yeah,
good job of playing up against it. Obviously with the drag screen too, but then coming into this. So when you see obviously Jack up this high and the way that this team's
yeah.
been playing, what's kind of thinking process here?
Mhm. Yeah, I know I originally had her be in the middle of half court just in case I needed to pass up, but I was like, "Okay, I can blow by this girl." So I was like, "Okay, let me try to get to the side. Maybe she can send me a drag." But then they jump it be even beforehand. So I was like, "Okay, let me reset," and then Jack would be on that short roll, and then it'll be like a 2-on-1 at the other end. So just getting the
Hmm.
ball off me quickly and letting Jack make a play because I know she can make a play downhill. And again, great footwork and great finishing, and a great passer. So,
Yeah. No,
mhm,
absolutely. And I think I like what you mentioned because even like being able to see the jump coming is big because again, something that's much more of like you're gonna see overseas playing in Europe, like
mhm,
uh just getting more stuff like that and being able to handle it on the move is big.
mhm,
Um Getting back to that game though, again with after you started to see some blitzing and more pressure, you get some switching. So as soon as you're getting more of a switch, how is
mhm.
that changing things up for you?
Yeah, the switch, they always tell what I've learned is like, as a screener, is hit under and roll. So I knew the person sending me the screen, she should be open right now. But that pass, obviously, sometimes the angle is hard. So I thought, okay, Jack is flashing. That'll be a quick pass to Jack, and Jack should have her down the roll. So just again, getting off of it and knowing that she should have that girl behind her, but the pass wasn't there.
Yeah, I think that's another interesting part though that I think was fun in watching you guys. Um, but in some ways, I think it's difficult. Like it's really difficult to be a great screening team when you're playing so small.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you and kind of feeling that out and knowing
Yeah.
like because even like right here like this is I mean this is a, like you said it's like a 5'10" guard screening. It's not always
Yeah.
going to be something like if Jack's hitting the screen, it's probably
Mhm.
exactly like you're talking about being open.
Exactly.
So what was that like and kind of working through that?
Yeah, just being undersized, I think it was about just the multiple actions. We knew the first action, okay, maybe we wouldn't get it because we wouldn't get the right switch. And then so just continue to play off it, Jack playing off. And if the ball came back to me, I know I would probably have a post player on me. So just continue to play and wait for the advantage and then attacking the advantage, whatever matchup that is. So yeah, just keep playing, keep moving, and then just being patient of that. Because like you said, with the guard, it's just about finding that matchup advantage.
Absolutely. And exactly what you said about continuing to be active because it's easy to just fall asleep once you're off the ball and you don't have the ball in your hands. But being
Mhm.
able to come back into this, like you said, part of being a small team, being fast. I don't know how much you watched the Pacers this year,
Oh yeah.
but like that's to me that's where basketball is continuing to head, right? Like
Mhm.
everybody's moving, everybody's making decisions, continuing to play, and like that's what you're doing here.
Mhm.
Um, and then obviously get into the pull up. Um,
Mhm.
when you're getting an opportunity to when you're playing in the two-player game and
Mhm.
especially when you're it's fun because I think you're not a player who typically plays out of isolation, but you have the ability to do it with being a three-level scorer. So when you're
Mhm.
sizing somebody up, what makes you feel more comfortable into getting into the pull-up or instead of maybe getting into another action?
Yeah, I think, so I think it's like a post player guard. I mean, and I know I'm
Yeah.
like, if I was a post player and I was on an island like with the guard, I'd be worried about the blow by. So here I noticed that she's backing up she's like a feet or two from the 3-point line. Hand
Hmm.
is not even up contesting the shot. So for me, that was like, okay, that's a shot.
Yep.
I'm just reading that and I give a little hesitant and she
Yeah,
kind of
especially after
on
the
that.
hezzy.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I work on that shot. So
Yeah,
let
as
it fly.
Mark Jackson always says, hand down, man down. So
Exactly.
it doesn't go in, but I think it's a good shot to take for sure.
Mhm.
Um, right here. So getting into pocket passing too, which I think again, it's fun because in that New Zealand game you really don't get to see it because they didn't play a lot of drop. But getting to work against the big against this Japanese team, when you're looking for the pocket pass and having the opportunity to play the middle like that, which I think is something you're going to get to do a lot this year.
Mhm.
What are the key things for you in making this pass as timely as possible and effective as possible?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is where one thing is obviously the help side. So I was looking on the help side and then she was worried about her player
Hmm.
down low. So I'm like, okay, Jack has a little bit of open lane. And again, she's good at short rolling that. So I know she wouldn't get too deep. And then Jack's defender. So the post player, she was kind of in between, but I stopped a little bit. Her hands went up. So I was like, okay, hands up, pass low. And she's coming up because I think she thought I might have shot it. So that's when
Hmm.
I and she also Jack had her player on the back of her, so I knew she'd be open the roll. So it was really just the weak side and then the post player that was on me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was good delivery too.
Mhm.
Um, Getting more into, I think this is a lot like you talked about earlier with working that snake dribble. I think you really get to showcase that against a team that's playing big.
Mhm.
Um, as soon as you're coming off the screen and you know you have the opportunity to do this, what are the things you're most looking for or kind of looking to manipulate?
Mhm. Yeah, again, the switch onto the post. Okay, is she backing up? Is she high? Is she low? If she comes up on the shot, then I know I could, blow by her. But here she was kind of looking for the drive. So I was like, okay, I'll have my pull up. And then again, just the weak side help. They were attached to the guards. So I know that girl over there, she's a shooter. So I knew
Hmm.
she would kind of be playing both, but more leaning towards her player. So I knew if I could just get to my spot and as a post player, it's hard to move against a guard. So just kind of getting
Absolutely.
her go one way and then creating that separation, I knew I can get my shot off.
Definitely. And I think one thing I wanted to ask too, the way
Mhm.
that, because kind of like we talked about with decision making and shooting, I think similar in this, you don't pause at all coming off the screen, but you're also playing with really good pace. Like you're not just, I think one thing that sometimes guards really have to figure out is playing decisively, but also being at a
Mhm.
good speed so they can do multiple things
Yeah.
effectively. What
Yeah.
do you think is most important for you in being able to play with that kind of composure and the
Yeah.
correct speed?
Yeah, like you said, it just really depends. I knew here, like, Jack set a great screen, so I knew, okay, I didn't have to cage my defender because she would have gotten hit, and then using that advantage of maybe a step or 2 I had on her after being hit.
Hmm.
Um, so just using that pace, like you said, and then knowing how a slower defender, using that speed, kind of just getting her going one way. But yeah, basketball's a game of change of pace, especially as a smaller guard, it might be the biggest or the strongest, but using that change of pace against others is something that I think I can continue to do, and it's my advantage, especially on the offensive end.
100%.
Mhm,
So right here, getting into like more of a pistol look.
mhm.
What and especially like technically, I mean, it ends up becoming pick and roll, but when you're starting like this, how does this kind of change up things for you, or what are you thinking through as it's hitting?
Yeah, I think for me, just reading how they're playing it, with Jack. Obviously, Jack's a post player, but if that was a guard, are they switching? Are they sinking? If she has a quick shot, or maybe we'll have a quick, pick and roll, like you said. But here, I'm just kind of reading the defense. If Naomi would have been open in the slip, or if there's any advantage there. But yeah, continue just again keep playing, keep moving. Off of that, I do a little snap action just to get the defense moving. And then again, I noticed the eyes always when I have the ball, the eyes are always looking at me. So the back doors are always open, and Naomi does a good job here reading that and going back door because the lane was a little bit collapsed there.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, no, I like what you mentioned too. So if let's say this slip was there, how would that change things for you?
Yeah, then obviously the spacing would have been different. Maybe that would have been open, or then Jack might have been open. The miscommunication, and then it would have probably allowed me to maybe drive, or the help wouldn't be there. But here they whip it, so when they whip the screen, you can go back to a rescreen. It's hard to whip twice.
Absolutely.
So we knew that Jack knows that, and then they trail over. That would have been open or Naomi. So, hmm
Nice. All right. So getting into defense a little bit.
hmm
I think at least to me, evaluating your defense, I feel like you're really strong in what you can do off the ball, communication, and I feel like one thing you can really show growth in this year is continue to get even stronger on the ball, right? Like, how would you kind of evaluate your defense from where you're at right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think, growing is, especially on the ball, something that I'm still working on, especially,
Hmm.
next level is guards, the guard play is big. So for me, continuing to use whatever advantage, again, the angles, that's something that I want to, get better at. You don't have to be the fastest to play defense, just gotta be like one of the smartest and using the angles. So again, watching film, knowing who I'm guarding, what they want to get to, their tendencies. But yeah, on the ball, that's definitely something I want to grow at. And then off the ball, I think I've gotten better at it, being a help side and just communicating more and trusting the help from other my teammates and stuff like that. But yeah, again, another aspect I'm continuing to grow in and kind of I like defense now, I think more a little more.
Yeah,
I think being a dude, that's one thing we definitely worked on was defense. And I understand, to get offense, you gotta play defense. So that's something that I continue to want to get better at, and like I'm taking more pride in that. So definitely will continue to go there.
for sure. What have you thought of learning the zone so far at Notre Dame? Like, obviously, I mean, everybody plays zone, but like
Yeah.
they've played the same zone for a decade plus. So, what's it been kind of learning that more?
Yeah, no, it's been good. Again, it's an adjustment for me, just kind of learning that and what we want to do. But again, with each team, you gotta go with what's best and like the advantage for us. And for me, it's a lot of similar concepts though from the man. It's just like in a zone setup. So it's been pretty good so far. I watch a lot of basketball. Like I say, my IQ is good, so picking it up has been not too hard. But again, just
Yeah.
getting the rest of it, playing with my teammates, getting that chemistry on the court, I think will be the biggest thing for us.
For sure. Can you elaborate on that, on the zone and man having similar principles?
Yeah. Again, even though you're in the zone, you still want to, think like, okay, I'm guarding the ball, like this is my man. But now it's just the help might be more, or you just have an area versus, only have one player. But a big thing I think in the zone is obviously communicating, the closeouts and stuff, and then rebounding. I think rebounding in the zones can be hard just because you don't have your own player. You got to find a player. So those are the two I think big things in a zone is just the rebounding, make sure to put a body on somebody, and then communicating the areas.
No, I appreciate that because exactly, I think so often, at least, if I went back, 5 years ago and where I was at thinking about basketball, be like, oh, I hate zone. It's so like, like it doesn't do anything. But
Yeah.
the best zones, like you're talking about, like sometimes they literally will look like a man because of the way that you play them and you have principles. And a lot of it depends on who you're playing against, of course. But like being able to number one, like know that and pick up on that is really key. And then
Mhm,
actually executing is so huge too, because you
mhm,
can play really great defense in a zone. It just depends on what you're asked to do and what the given game looks like, right?
exactly.
All right, well, let's get into this film. I want to start with looking at, I want to say this one goes into pick and roll defense first. Yeah.
Mhm,
So as soon as coming out of being in help, obviously you guys did a little bit of like nail pressure, like showing like just so that because you guys were a smaller team, so condensing the
yeah.
gaps. Um, but as soon as you're kind of feeling, oh, my player's starting to drift, what are you thinking in your head?
I'm like, okay, like right here, this
Yeah,
moment. I was like, okay, she's looking at the ball. The pass didn't go. I'm like, okay, she's gonna probably go off for a handoff or a action, but she went through the handoff. I'm like, okay, she caught it, and then she whipped it back, and I was like, oh, Jack was there on the help, but we could switch it because like it was a quick what's it called action,
yeah.
and I knew with Jack that she was there for the help, and this girl she wasn't really doing the seam passes that much. I know she was more of like either gonna score for the layup or kind of just play like east to west, so I wasn't really worried about her with the seam pass.
Hmm.
But for me, it was kind of try to blow it up and then get back to my defender, and Jack
Yeah.
was. Hmm.
I like putting the hit on the roller, like you just mentioned. I think again, it's the little things like that where even if you want to call it getting beat on a screen, like getting
Hmm.
back into it and just making things difficult because so much of
Hmm.
defense is like we talked about, like can you make actions harder? Can you make things a little bit tougher? And I think that's really
Exactly.
key.
Yeah, and I think one thing we had talked about was like a three-way switch because that was, the big person was gonna roll down. So for me, it was like, okay, I see Jack switch, and then I would just the other post player down there, she would have switched and got the post, and I just would have X'd that out. So that's what I
Okay,
think I would have done next.
got
If we
it.
would have that. Hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah, because you can see your picker up right here, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
yep,
and I would have
100%.
just went out. Hmm.
Okay, good to know.
Hmm.
So right here too, again, starting off the ball, you guys were switching most things on the sideline, just keeping it in front.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, so again, as soon as players starting to drift, come up to the ball, what are you thinking before? Especially now, like all right, in a slot, knowing it's probably emptied out. There's the help
Yeah.
behind you's a little different.
Yeah, so I knew Jack was gonna be playing like drop or up to touch. So I knew okay, like let me get over the screen because they can shoot. So I did my best to get over the screen, fight over it, get back in front, and then just make her take a tough shot. So again, just try to skinny up on there. And know that she likes to get downhill, so just using my length on that and then just running back in front.
Definitely. Especially with like getting over screens, getting skinny, like you mentioned. Like, what's
Yeah.
most important part for you in being quick, getting over, and staying attached?
Mhm. Yeah, I think one thing is being physical on that, especially overseas. I realized they let you play a little bit more,
Yeah.
so I can give her a little bump. But yeah, instead of sliding would not work. You have to sprint back in front.
Hmm.
So it's just getting that body on her initially, and then using that to get back in front.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think it's key here too because I think you do a good job. Like you said, sprint, get back.
Hmm.
This is a tough shot. Like, I just did like a data dive on something recently. Like, the average three pointer in the W is I think 33% right now, just a little bit higher. And in order to shoot well enough on a mid ranger to get the same value, there's only 10 players in the league right now who
Oh
are
wow.
shooting well enough on a mid range shot to like get the same values in open three. So like obviously there are players who you don't want to get that shot, but
Yeah.
100% off balance floater, touch runner, difficult shot. So
Hmm.
um, getting into this one too. So being more off ball, I like this play a lot because I think obviously you get a big on you, but you work really hard to make this not an easy pass. Because I
Hmm.
think right here, so often, as soon as they get the ball up top, they're like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, side entry, open, that's free throws or bucket. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously, I know like tough being smaller, but you do a really good job of making that difficult, and then obviously ends up a block for you guys.
Hmm.
So what do you think is the most important part for you of if you do get switched on to somebody or you do have to kind of take on somebody? Because I believe this was early offense and it's just a cross match, but
Mhm. Yeah, I think again, like you said, continue to play, not just get stuck behind them. So if they're pushing back, use that swim over. I've done a couple of post defensive drills every once in a while. So knowing that swim action, just trying to get your arm, and then I know my help is on the backside. So just not making an easy pass, trying to get in front, and then forcing it into my help.
definitely.
Hmm.
I just think this is a really good closeout. Because you're doing your job, you're weak, you have to be in the lane with somebody rolling.
Hmm.
And it's fun too because Japan was like, I mean, they're well, and not even just Japan. A lot of teams are going to throw a backside flare anytime
Yeah.
there's any kind of roll action, just to make it difficult. So,
Yeah.
as soon as you're in help, what's most
Yeah.
important to you in like knowing, all right, I got to make sure I get right on this closeout.
Yeah, I think like you said, just being and helping, like the number one thing is the paint, the roller. So I see when the girl starts rolling, I'm like, okay, if that pass goes, like I have to be there. But once the ball continues going to my side, starting to inch out a little bit more to my defender, and then when I saw the screen happen, I knew she, even though that was my teammate's defender, there's no way for her to get out there.
Mhm.
So just chopping my feet, knowing she can shoot, and then just giving a good contest without fouling.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, Vanessa, that's all I got film-wise. Is there anything else you wanna hit on before we get out of here?
No, I think that was, yeah, those are like the main things. Yeah.
Dope. Well, yeah, I'm really excited to watch you play with this team coming up. Obviously, really enjoyed watching you play the last couple of years, and particularly in this Asia Cup. To
Mhm.
everyone watching, keep up with all things Notre Dame women's basketball. A lot of great stuff down the pipeline for a team with a lot of new faces this year. Keep up with everything Vanessa's doing. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day.